Pretty much everyone is aware that September started yesterday, but few realize that this weekend also signals a new month. The biblical lunar month of Elul begins on Sunday, which means that exactly 4 weeks from Sunday, it's Rosh Hashanah Eve. And in rabbinic literature, this month starting Sunday before Rosh Hashanah embodies a courtship between God and the Jewish people. This theme of courtship is captured in the traditional belief that the Hebrew letters of this month, Elul, Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed, are an abbreviation of the wedding phrase at Jewish weddings. Many of you know in English, I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. Ani l'dodi v'dodi li, referring to God and the Jewish people. We Jews are to rediscover our being loved and forgiven by a loving and forgiving God who forgives all people, climaxing on Yom Kippur when we start anew. When it comes to the mystery of God and coping with human experience, and before we can have a courtship, you have to know the partner. Few teachers are more perceptive, in my view, than Rabbi Larry Kushner. And in his book, Sacred Stories of the Ordinary, he relates a very personal and powerful story, which begins decades ago when he and his wife went out for dinner one night. And on the way home, the Kushner family stopped at Marshall's, the discount clothing store, near their Sudbury, Massachusetts residence. Kushner's then young children would play hide and seek among the racks of clothing while Rabbi Kushner and his wife shopped and browsed for bargains. On one such evening, Rabbi Kushner caught the eye of a tall, attractive, carefully made-up woman who seemed at first to be very distraught. He pretended not to notice her as she moved toward him into the aisle where he stood, but he couldn't help notice that she was very pregnant and accompanied by a man. They were moving toward him, not without some hesitation, but he sensed the woman was trying to catch his attention. Finally, she asked, "Aren't you Rabbi Kushner?" "Yes, I am," he answered. "Have we met before?" "Not exactly," she replied. "We attended a service you did. My husband and I thought you were very nice." Before he could even acknowledge her compliment, she said, "Oh, Rabbi, we were at the doctor's this afternoon. The third opinion. He says I have inoperable cancer. I'm going to die. He says the baby will be fine," she added, holding her belly. "But I've only got 6 months at most." Her husband was trying to look strong, but his eyes were painfully red. All this in the middle of Marshall's department store. Rabbi Kushner was stunned, virtually speechless. The couple introduced themselves, gave him all the details. They'd been thinking about joining his temple. Their world had collapsed. Why had this happened? Would he do the funeral? They joined. She bore a daughter, and then she died. Kushner did the funeral. In this tragic and true story, Kushner then digresses about the two principal ways to understand our relationship with God. God can be above us, or we can be within God. I think the reason why many people have trouble believing in God is because the God they talk about isn't worth believing in, especially when it comes to why bad things happen to good people. Personally, I believe in one God of humanity who elicits the best that is within us and enables us to survive the worst that befalls us. And that's the God of the high holy days too, my friends. The image of God as ruler, Malkenu, gives way to the God of the parent, Avinu, the mother or father, who comforts us like a good mom or dad and is always there for us no matter what happens in this lifetime. I will be with you through it all is the notion of the loving and forgiving God we reunite with as we head toward the high holy days. Stories with happy endings distract our attention from all the other painful stories that are also a part of life. And in his focus on the we are within God paradigm, the good and bad is all mixed together. He points out, I didn't know this, that the seeds of the giant redwood trees out west are capable of germinating only after they have been through the intense heat of a forest fire. Only then, after something has died, can something be born. So that young couple in Kushner's story joined his congregation. She bore a daughter. The mother died. Kushner did the funeral. But that's not the end of the story. The part that choked me up was the incredible sequel to it all. Many years later, Rabbi Kushner was sitting one night with the other members of his synagogue's Sunday evening high school faculty over a pizza supper, as we clergy do all the time with our high school. The teachers were surveying the students at the other tables. Even after a long day at school, the energy of some of the kids astonished Rabbi Kushner. His glance settled on this short, vivacious, red-haired girl of 17. He pretended he wasn't looking. She had just finished telling a joke or playing a harmless prank. Her face, Kushner says, and I quote, her face had a grin as irrepressible as the sunrise. She was a very special and gifted young woman. Everyone laughed with her. She made others feel good. And she's very popular. A few minutes after making the whole group erupt with laughter, this beautiful child came over to the teacher's table and asked Rabbi Kushner if he would read over her part in the worship service she had written for an upcoming youth conclave. "Why not?" he said with a wink. "I need a good laugh." Rabbi Kushner concludes his story with these words. "I love that girl. I'm honored that she looks up to me. After her mother died, her father never remarried. And last week, Kushner whispered to another teacher, her dad told me that his daughter was thinking of becoming a rabbi. Look," Kushner adds, "I don't think a loving God would make a tumor grow in that girl's mother's brain, or that God had anything to do with the choice of careers, or where I used to shop for bargain basement clothes. But I can't get it out of my head that there's a mystery mixed up in this whole, at times horrible and more times joyous thing called life. I, Greenstein, don't think that very many of us believe that God is running the world like some puppeteer, depriving us of our freedom or moral responsibility. What Kushner's story is saying is that God is simply there with us through all of it. And when we become aware of this, as we do during moments of great joy and sorrow, great moments or insights, we realize that God is the power that elicits the best within us and enables us to survive whatever befalls us. That is the power of the one God you and I have seen in the people we admire so much. Those who embody the very best a person can be and draw strength from inside to survive the inevitable sadness life also imposes. What is within our power, and our power alone, is whether or not we will respond to this precious gift of life with arrogance or reverence, with cynicism or humility. And that's no small matter, friends. In fact, it's the choices within our power which infuse the upcoming High Holy Days with such sanctity and meaning. So this Sunday's new month begins the Jewish summons to prepare yourself for returning to another year, returning to life, renewing your commitment to those you love, to Judaism, to our own higher selves, and to our understanding of and relationship to and with this God and the spiritual dimension of life. Faith in God from a Jewish lens in closing does not mean that sorrow will never invade your home or that illness will never strike those you love. To believe in God is to know and believe that power within us we call God will give us, no matter what befalls us, the strength to endure and the capacity, the power to hold on and see our lives through. That even in the face of the worst calamity, we're not alone, because God weeps with us, not against us. God weeps with us in our sorrow, even as God smiles with us in our joy. Yes, the high holy days are upon us, my friends, and they come to remind us what Kushner's story teaches so well, that it's hard not to get it out of our heads, that somehow the source of life we call God, the mystery, is in this thing we call life, and that we are here to make our families, city, our world just a little better because we are in it, because we are in life, because we are in God's world, and maybe within God too. L'shana tova, ruchaniya, umetuka. No matter what sorrow you're enduring, may the new year, 1 month from Sunday, be a good, sweet, spiritual new year for you and those you love. A year of heightened sensitivities and awareness of God's world and our place in it, and the difference each one of us can make, no matter what takes place in this fragile and beautiful life. And let us all say, Amen.